Hey, beautiful souls. Pearl is here, and guess what? We are back. Season 3 of the Female Fluence Podcast is officially here, and we are diving deeper, getting bolder, and shining brighter than ever. This season, we're continuing to break down old beliefs, speak our truth, and support women like you to grow with confidence, honesty, and inner power. Inspiring conversations, soul-shifting insights, and the powerful truth telling you you've come to love. So mark your calendars. Hit follow and get ready because your next level self is waiting. And trust me, she is unstoppable. Female Fluence Season 3. It's not just a podcast, it's your wake-up call.
What are some silent symptoms of menopause that are often overlooked or not talked about?
Everybody thinks hot flashes and night sweats, and that's not for everyone. I lost my joy. Another early symptom that a lot of women might not know about, getting up and peeing more frequently is definitely a sign of estrogen going down. There is a little bit more of a stubborn belly fat that comes on. I was extremely fatigued. I just couldn't get up and get anything done. I didn't feel motivated to work out, and then sleep was terrible. Ones that don't have any symptoms, you should still get your hormones checked. Even if you don't have symptoms, those changes are happening on the organ level.
Menopause, it's a topic that's really surrounded by fear. We have to live our best life during and after menopause. It's not something that we have to be so fearful of.
The definition of menopause is wait a year after the last period before you give someone the diagnosis. Well, that's already kind of late because you're already having those changes happen on a cardiovascular level, on the bones, on the brain. It's a normal transition for everyone. It helps to be prepared, to know your hormone levels, to make sure your terrain is as healthy as possible. Don't overdo anything, work on your stress, check your hormones and be prepared for it so that you can anticipate things and be ahead of the game.
Every action you take is a vote for the person you wish to become. If you want to become a person who steps into the room, it's better because you're in it. Well, it's not because when you were in high school, you had the highest SAT score in the school or that you have your master's degree. It's because of your attitude.
Right.
Your attitude, it's being reflected through your body language. It's being reflected through the way you're interacting with them. It's being reflected through what is it you're prioritizing. They can see whether relationships are important to you or not. They can see it through your attitude.
The truth and the importance of slowing down. Because I feel like when you go to Europe and you go to other places, people are a little bit more slow. They take the time to have coffee together, a lunch, a meal. Their family meals are important.
It's a chronic hurry. We're skimming life. We're not living life.
Yes. Recently, somebody was saying that we don't live life. We go to work, we do our things, and then we watch TV, living other people live life like a fantasy instead of actually being present in our own life. Now, you had said true wealth comes from the unfolding of who we become. And I just thought that was such a powerful statement. So I wanted you to kind of elaborate on it.
I think the greatest leaders in the world don't ever really feel like they've reached it. It's really not what we get in life. It's who we become in our journey. Become more growth conscious and less goal conscious. People who strictly rely on their goals are aiming to win one time, whereas a person who's growth conscious is prepared to win repeatedly because they don't ever feel like they've reached it.
So I started talking to all these women, and what I learned was, whoa, wait a second. There's some amazing women out there. They really have great backgrounds, a lot of talent, a lot of skills. I think they could qualify for boards. And why aren't they? And so that's where I figured out what was preventing them from getting on boards.
We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.
Yes, this is what we call breaking the glass ceiling. Let's be human. Let's be people, not genders.
Exactly. It's not about being male or female. It's just being human.
And bring those skills and talents together so we complement each other. This is where we're really pissing off the big guys. In some cases, I don't want to man bash because I've had incredible male mentors.
Of course.
And I'm still surrounded by amazing men, and I call them the men of the 21st century. I imagine a world where all the board seats are equally filled by women and men from diverse backgrounds and ethnicities. And I have made the current commitment to train 1,000 women to get on boards, and we still have work to do.
That is incredible.
We need to get that power back. Now I've trained a few women who've been through some pretty significant lawsuits.
Right.
We had a gal who was part of the Goldman Sachs class action lawsuit. that settled for $275 million. It affected everything. She couldn't get jobs. You know, we talk about sacrifice, working hard and doing things and making those kinds of investments in your life. That's different than sacrificing yourself for the greater good of all of us in a painful situation that's costly, where you can lose your family, your marriage.
Yes, and it's like your self-worth, the price that you have to pay to stay quiet, go along because you want this deal to happen. You don't want to, shake anything in the office. It is just so sad, and especially all those years of dedication and hard work in this corporation that she has given to this company, and then there's no loyalty.
Perfectionists tend to think I haven't done this well enough, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. But if you actually sat down and wrote everything you've ever achieved since your first memory, everybody comes up with these amazing stories and they realize I'm a whole lot stronger than my thoughts were making me, right? That's a way to shift the label.
You forget all your accomplishments, you forget your success, you forget all those good stories, but for some reason we get stuck on the bad one. Have it like in front of you. So every time you have a bad day, it's like, oh, wow, I've done all of this. I'm an incredible person. I'm going to continue doing it. I'm going to push restart, and then I'm going to start again tomorrow. Are there different types of perfectionism?
I just think there's 3 different kinds of perfectionism: how you view the world, how others view you, and how society views everything as a whole.
It's like that inner voice that keeps talking to us, and that's why that perfectionism gets worse. How much critical words or sentences or phrases we tell ourselves in a day. Parenting is one of the most difficult jobs in the world, but now on top of regular parenting, you've been given another obstacle to deal with. So how has this changed your perspective?
I think it's changed my perspective 100%. I don't know that I want to know what kind of parent I would have been without this, because this is the parent that I should be. The parent, I'm not saying I'm doing a great job, I am not. But I think that this has taught me what's important, what to value. It's taught me a lot about finding the things important enough to care about. I think as parents, we get so bogged down with little stuff. Life is short, and you just have no idea what could happen to you in one conversation, in one blink of an eye, in one test. Why not just try to let go of the little things?
Beautifully said. You were able to pull yourself at some point together, you and your husband, and convert your grief into action. I mean, how did you do this? It's remarkable for me.
I'm not going to lie to you. I came home from that appointment. It was like someone died. The first few days, I wasn't leaving my bed. I couldn't function. I was done. But I do attribute a lot of it to my husband. He has a very go-getter personality. But together we decided that we can't just sit here and cry and say, this is it. It wasn't really an option for us. Our option was, we have one life. Let's give it all we got. This can't be the death sentence that we heard. It has to be something different.
And I think that's part of the reason why you see a lot of people start these diets and then they lose the weight and then they're back on. And just the cycle continues because they're not really dealing with the root of the problem, checking for those, hunger cues and just understanding what's going on versus starving yourself and then saying, oh, I lost, 4 pounds. I'm so excited. But then like 2 weeks later, something horrible happens and you can't even control yourself, so the cycle continues. In the marriage, especially if you've been married a long time, if he does one nice thing here and there, you completely forget about it. Oh, you forgot to do this. And it's like constantly. And then you realize, wait, I'm just nagging. Taking that time and say, listen, I really appreciate it that you did this. And that goes both ways. I mean, the man needs to do that for a woman too. Showing appreciation and just having a passion for life will create a passion in your relationship. You just need to be happy that you're there and appreciate one another and not take each other for granted.
If you find yourself doing the ABCs a lot with your man, advising, blaming, and criticizing, suggesting, giving advice, fixing his problems, that's a great clue that you are just in your masculine energy. You'll feel annoyed with him, frustrated with him, turned off. When you soften into your feminine energy, which is your feelings, the things that light you up in life, what was it you used to do before you got busy with kids and career? Can you fit in that dance class? Get into your body again. Start putting yourself first if you don't already. If you want to be the kind of woman that a man wants to pursue forever, then your life needs to be the prize, not just the needs of other people. We can show up as the best mothers, the best wives when we put ourselves first.
We've strapped our kids to this conveyor belt where they have to be answerable. And I questioned myself as a mom because it was something I assumed. Of course, my kids have to go to college to be successful in life. Of course, this is what you do. But to have them so narrowly defined by a grade or a test score or even a piece of paper really had me challenge myself. And there's a lot of people out there coming up with new ways where we look at portfolios rather than looking at single numbers, transcripts, because that says nothing. We've strapped our kids to this conveyor belt where they have to be answerable. And I questioned myself as a mom because it was something I assumed. Of course, my kids have to go to college to be successful in life. Of course, this is what you do. But to have them so narrowly defined by a grade or a test score or even a piece of paper really had me challenge myself. And there's a lot of people out there coming up with new ways where we look at portfolios rather than looking at single numbers, transcripts, because that says nothing.
Witnessing a family dissolve is deeply emotional. You know, they've been married for 30 years, 3 children, and all of a sudden it's like you're on your own and you have to start fresh and you have to reclaim your own identity, your own life. I would imagine that you would feel completely lost as a female, you know, just after all these years. Who am I? Like, what am I going to do now?
People talk about, death and divorce are similarly situated in the emotions that can arise during that situation. And to a certain extent, divorce is a death of a marriage. It's important for clients to have an attorney that they not only can seek counsel from with respect to their legal strategy, but to give them the guidance to navigate the emotional challenges that go with the divorce. If you feel, and everybody has that internal monitor, right, that this is just not right. Obviously, physical abuse, there is no excuse for it. You need to get out. But the other stuff that's a little bit more, it smells like you're not sure, you sometimes need to talk to somebody else, because when you're the one that's going through it, in order to survive, you're going to ignore things. Sometimes you need to bring somebody else in to say, did I see that? Once you start actually telling the story, it becomes like, oh, that's not right. But they have to be able to tell the story. And that's really almost the first step.
Yeah.
10%, you eat whatever the fork you want, because we are human and we should celebrate and we should have whatever grandma's cooking. Never associate food with guilt or being bad. There's no such thing as bad food. We really have to take that lexicon out of our vocabulary. But there's absolutely room for the things we love. And that contributes to metabolic flexibility.
Your philosophy is more like, let's eat healthier and cleaner and just have a plan. I love like sustainable, because I just feel like with a lot of these diets, it's like, oh, no, I'm going to do 2 weeks of just juicing. We just need to do those smart swaps and create a system where we can actually sustain for life.
Just one step. Eat something green today. When you eat something green, you're eating usually something that has a bitter flavor, and that's going to be one more step in retraining your taste buds.
Yes.
And cutting the cravings.
If your life was a book and a story, there's this magical thing of all the pages ahead are blank, and you will decide what to put there. The people who get stuck sometimes can't see that perspective, that they're just in a chapter, that it's not their whole story, and it's up to them. Like, they will let that be who they are going forward, and that's a choice they're making.
And it's so empowering when you can visual and see those blank pages, because that gives you control. I get to fill the rest of those pages. It's empowering and it's exciting to know that you have that control over your mind, over your life. You had said the words in your head come out of your mouth and become your story. How can we be more mindful of the language we use to think about ourselves, to stop that self-sabotaging? We can clear that negative voice, then we can see clear and see what's happening and have a better perspective.
It is constant work. It is checking your language at the door. And the reason I say that the words in your head come out of your mouth and become your story kind of gives you a visual of, okay, if it's in your head, once you say it out loud, that's how people bring it back to you. You create the echoes.
All the way up until college. So when I tell you I escaped, I really did.
Wow.
Every single day I was in survival mode. Every single day.
I am speechless from 7 to college.
There was confusion. Am I supposed to tell someone? There's this person who you trust telling you that, no, don't tell anyone. Like, this is just between us. it started to click that what was happening to me was something that was wrong and something that I shouldn't be getting put through.
Right now, let's say if one person that listens to this podcast is going through exactly what you have gone through and has never told anyone, and it's like, oh, well, she did it. She's healing. She's a mom. She has 3 kids. She's living happily right now, even though she's still working on her trauma, which is completely okay. That one person decides to step forward and change her life. You've made a difference. You've empowered another woman. That's why it was really important for me to have you on my show. If we can just make a difference just here and there by one call, one person. That's our message. That's what my message has always been by doing this podcast in the first place. I feel like society accepts men if they're being selfish. If you have a father that is not spending enough time with the children, has to go to the gym after work, it's completely accepted. No one says anything. No one's going to say, oh, he's a horrible dad. If the roles are reversed, if a woman is doing that, then it's immediately regarded, doesn't she have children? Doesn't she care?
I'd love to address that because I think that's a really important question. And I'm glad you brought it up. If you feel guilty about it, that energy is going to be what you carry forward. Your husband might say something, and then you're going to take that and acquiesce to this feeling of, oh, I shouldn't have done that. A lot of it's in our head. We are worried about what other people will think about us. But the truth of the matter is, if you decide, you know what, I need to go take some me time. My husband or partner can take care of the kids, and I'm going to go do a spa evening because I need it. I need it to recharge. I call it my power container.
If we get that negative comment, then it just ruins our day, even though we might have 100 positive.
Your love is your power. I truly believe that we are conditioned as women to give our power away to everyone else. It's your power, but when you give it away without any value, you are desperately seeking to get some of it back by the actions of other people. And so if they don't approve of something, you're not getting some of that power back that you need to feel validated, to feel worthy and valuable. If you always keep some of your love burning within, always internal, you keep your power your own. Then you're not needing that external validation. If someone doesn't like what you did, okay, how about you're not meant to be in my life anyway then, if you're going to judge me like that, that's where you being grounded in your power comes in.
I was sitting in a restaurant. There was a booth behind us. It was a group of women getting together and someone said, oh, how are you? She was like, oh, I'm fine, but my kids are driving me nuts. They're teenagers. They're terrible. I hate this stage and blah, blah, blah. It's so sad. Yeah, it is not rainbows and butterflies, and it is hard, if not daily. But there's so much beauty in that turmoil too. And if you're not helping them through that turmoil, then who is? Instagram, Snapchat, the world, etc. You need to be there to help them through this growth.
I love one of the things I've heard you say. You have to understand that it's okay not to understand. That sentence has stayed with me. The moment that you say, I'm not supposed to get it. She's a teenager. She's having her own stress. My job is to be there, to support her and listen to her. I don't need to understand every single emotion that she's going through. And then you take it personal. Right.
You need worth to have esteem, to have confidence. That's why it's built from the bottom up with this formula. To have worth, though, there are 5 pillars that always have been, are, and will be. And you already named 2 of them. And that is to be seen and to be heard. That's what we need to do. We need to be seen, heard, loved, belong, and have a purpose. And when we can build that into our kids so that they learn to grow that from the inside out instead of chasing it out in the world and seeking it outside in, they are going to be more equipped for the world that they enter.
Because masculine and feminine is so different, right? The masculine is focused on action and the feminine is focused on the feelings. Therefore, when I speak to our spouse, he doesn't get the emotional impact that it has on you. How can you actually just let him know that he just hurt your feelings, for example, right? It's just like a very short phrase, ouch, right? And you just say that and nothing else. You do those specific phrases, you interject and you just let him know without saying, because they teach you, I'm sure you've heard it. Okay, you have to tell him in 5 steps how it made you feel. When you said this thing, it made me feel like crap. And then I felt this and then I felt that and da. So if you can narrow it down to one word said at a specific time, they're like, oh, I get it. So it's the communication is so different, but we expect the men to understand us the way that women would. On my side, divorced parents, very unhappy grandparents, or my mom's brothers and sisters in really bad marriages.
You hadn't seen a proper example, role model of what a marriage is supposed to be. Like that's happened to me. Like if I'm in an argument with my husband, I'm like, wait, I've seen this before. This is exactly how my mom would react to this situation. Like, why am I following the pattern? It's so true what we model in front of our kids and what we've seen growing up, because we will take that with us.
And then you start seeing those patterns and like this anger, this resentment just keeps building.
Sometimes it's hard because you come across some people that are really stuck. It's very hard for them to shut that voice, whether it's the outside voice from people, the stories they've been fed to from since they were little, like, oh, you're not good enough, you can't do this. What are you going to do? You can't make this up. You're going to write a book? That's impossible. So it's like all those stories that they've heard all throughout their life. And then those voices plus their own voice, that, you know, the inner critique that you were talking about, that it's like, oh, they walk by the mirror. Oh, I can't do this. Like, who am I?
Careful of the stories that you tell. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I can't go with you guys. Well, then you become not good enough because you can't go with them. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So narrative that you say out loud and the narrative that you say to yourself inside. And those things will free you up to have the luxury of being able to find your purpose. We each have a purpose in this life. Our life's work is to find that purpose, right? The unique part of it is I don't think that it's one thing. Your purpose is ever evolving and meets you where you are at different times in your life. I believe that it may flow in a theme, but I don't think that it's one and done, right? I found my purpose. I'm done with life. Like, I don't think that's what it is, but I do think we each have it.
So many different purposes in different seasons. I think you say that in your book too. It's like, I feel the same way. Different times of your life, there's a different path that you have to take based on the purpose for that season. My mission, my movement is just to tell everyone out there, midlife is going to be like the best time of your life because you're so much more wiser, you're stronger, you're resilient, you're confident. You've learned so much from your experiences. You can do so much more, whether it's finding your purpose, doing the things that you like, giving back.
I have to say, I think especially women in their midlife, we're extraordinary. Remember that. You are the author of your own life. You can rewrite your life whenever you want to. When you meet somebody for the first time, they don't know anything about you. It's only what you tell them and what you show them, right? That's how they know who you are. So take this time and figure out who you want to be. And how do you rewrite that chapter of your life so you can become that person?
We lose the ability to play because we're so worried about what people are going to think. And when I say play, bring out the Yahtzee game. Next time you drive by that local playground in your neighborhood, don't drive by, pull in, go on the swings, go down a sliding board. If you have a niece, a nephew, a grandchild, play with them, follow them around and play. Find ways to bring playfulness into your life. Seek out intentionally the good, but not only look for the good, savor it. 20 seconds of noticing the good. At the end of your day, be intentional about saying, what was good today? Smile, laugh, play, look for the good. Start saying yes to invitations. It could feel awkward. It could feel hard. And once you do it, it feels so good.
Isn't it incredible when we just stop the noise and we're quiet, how we are actually taking that time to listen within ourselves? Because I feel like that's what happens a lot of times as females, especially, or moms. We are so busy that we can't even take a moment to be like, am I even happy? Do I like what I'm doing? Am I fulfilled? And even if like every 6 months, do a reflection and check in and say, okay, what's going on in this aspect of my life? Am I fulfilled?
Yes.
Am I happy? What can I do better? Like, wait, I look like I have it all, but there's still something missing and I'm not 100% fulfilled. But what can I do to change that? You are modeling for your kids that you need to live a fulfilled life, that living your life at every stage is different, but as long as you're living it with happiness and fulfillment and you're aware, that's the key. You're modeling this for them.
When I finally did learn how to express my desires in a way that inspired him, instead of just complaining or criticizing him, he got right on it. So it was like that hero gene was still alive and well. All I needed to do was know how to trigger it. And I think it's something I don't think most women know. Every complaint that I have is actually a lazy desire. So if I'm complaining about something about my husband, it's because I haven't figured out what it is I would love. I just know what I don't want. And that's not very magnetizing. That really hurts the intimacy. But if I'm sticking to what I would love, that's totally different vibration. And that's when you can trigger his hero gene.
As modern women, it's just pushed to us from society that we need to wear this, armor to constantly prove that we are strong, we are masculine, we are independent. So when we come home, we're still wearing that armor, and it's very difficult for us to take it off and bring our femininity out and being able to receive from our husband. I mean, even things as simple, I've been carrying groceries and then my husband would be like, oh, let me help you. And I'm like, no, I've got this, because I want to prove that I'm strong and I can handle it.
I love the columnist and writer Connie Schultz said that before she would let her husband make her a cup of coffee, she wanted to make sure that wasn't going to affect her right to vote and own property. It was an exhausting way to live, right?
The first part of our year, our life is very laid out for us, right? Everything is sort of in line. We go to school, we find a partner, we decide if we're going to have a family, we search for a career, but it's very consistently set up for us. And then we get into the thick of it. It's almost like the messy middle. What happens is we lose sight of our next goal. There isn't the sort of life plan, the architecture of what good looks like for you moving forward. And so part of it is, what do you want your second prime to be filled with? How do you want to feel what are you doing right now in your 30s for your 40s? What are you doing in your 40s for your 50s, so that your future self is prepared to have that experience?
Even when I talk to older people from that generation, oh, just wait until you get 40. It's horrible. And then now that I'm in my 40s, constantly, like the older generation, it's like they just walk around, oh, Pearl, 50s are horrible. Just wait. Overnight, everything will turn upside down. And I'm like, if you think like that, of course it's going to happen, And I honestly, when they tell me these stories, because I know I don't want to be disrespectful or rude, I just let them talk. But in my head, don't soak it in. Don't listen to what they're saying, because immediately you're going to listen to those stories and that will become your story. So it's so true. And it's our job, Gretchen. We need to change these stories for all the future women. I know you're successful, but we all carry, especially as females, those beliefs that's passed on to us from either generations, from family, from society. What were some of your beliefs, and how did you overcome them so that you could be the person you are today?
Since I was a small child, I sort of knew that life could be better than I was experiencing. And then as I was growing up, I was very much interested in psychology and to find out who I really was versus everything I'd been taught. I kept hearing things like, well, you're a woman, you could never do this and never have your own company. And they would always bring, just the female down. And at this point, I think something within me clicked inside that said, oh, well, then let me show you. I think anger can be a really good motivator for you to make a change. You need to find your tribe of people. You need to find people who are doing what you're doing and that will share with you and also make you accountable for when you are totally off base. So I want everyone to look for synchronicity of things that just drop in your lap. That as we get to know ourselves better, we can almost see what is the next best and highest use of us. So I remember calling, and the person that started this group was very kind, and I told him who I was. I felt like I really needed to join this group. And then he said, well, you got to do a minimum of $2 million a year in business. I said, well, I'm way past that. Now he's really quiet.
You really fought for that tribe because it was hard to get in, right? So it's like your intuition told you that this is where you belong. You needed to get yourself in there. You make people laugh for a living, which is such a gift. I mean, laughter is the medicine for everything. But I know you've also carried a lot of grief in your own life.
When you go through a tragedy, you realize that everyone has gone or will go through a tragedy. So, for example, I lost my brother in 2014, and I lost my sister in 2017. Both times when they passed away, I would talk about them in my social media, and then I was on tour afterwards, and I would have people come up to me and say, hey, I also lost a sibling. Hey, I just went through the same thing. Hey, my mother was just diagnosed with cancer, whatever it was. And you realize, oh, we're all dealing with everything. And, there's no point in trying to hide it. And I think it's good to talk about it.
Being a man and being Persian, you're taught to like suppress your feelings, and it's not masculine to do so. How were you able to grapple with your mental health within that framework and break free from those expectations that society has of you?
I remember, actually, I did a joke about this, but it's true. I remember I must have been, 5 years old or something. I was running, I fell, cut my knee. I was about to cry. And my dad, trying to console me, he said, oh, son, don't cry. Men don't cry. I remember just like holding it in. And then in the joke, I talk about how then I would go to movies like E.T. There's an emotional scene at the end and my heart wants to cry, but my brain says, men don't cry, so I don't cry. So it's good. It's good to be vulnerable. It's good to be open to emotions because those are human emotions. And unfortunately, a lot of cultures, not just the Iranian culture, but a lot of cultures don't encourage that. And it's probably detrimental to their health, to our health.
What it feels like to be silenced, to be told no, to be treated as less. But I also knew how education can change your lives, and especially technology could be. A signal computer opened the world to me. It changed my personal and professional life. I wanted that all other girls to experience the same sense of the possibilities. I wanted that to share the same opportunity that I had. Belief came from the girls themselves, their, hunger to learn, their resilience, their bravery. And every time that we open one computer classes in the schools, and we could see that how the girls are hunger to learn and how much they change their lives after a while using the computer. They get more confidence, they get more determined, and it also shaped their ways of thinking about their future lives. But I don't think that we let the fear. What helped me to navigate all of this, it was my purpose, but also I wasn't alone. I was working with a group of the women and a group of men, so they all believe in the same things. We had an incredible team who all wanted to bring the change in a society. And they wanted to open the doors for the girls who didn't have that chance. And most of us graduated from computer science. So I think that was another reason, I have to say.
So I think it's an accumulation of like really good support, a good team that's going to work together, and just not giving up and having that positive mindset that we're making a change. We can already see like a gleam of hope in some of these girls' eyes. So we can't stop, right? I think that just kept you moving on, as difficult as it was.
And there are many moments that we said, okay, is it worth to continue to fight for? It's worth fighting. But when you see the girls are changed, and we see that how the girls trying to come into our classes, we had 13 technology centers. And in every of our centers, we had, hundreds of students coming and participating in our training program. And their desire to learn, their determination to continue is fuel our desire to keep continue, regardless of what problems was in the society.
Thank you everyone for tuning in today to Female Fluence. Together we can influence and motivate other mind-like females. Your job is to feel alive, be in control, and always be true to your own self. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can continue feeling inspired. All the links and notes from this episode will be posted on my website, femalefluence.com. Don't forget to also follow me at Female Fluence on both Instagram and Facebook. Lastly, if you are in need of a woman empowerment life coach to help you identify the barriers that keep you from living the life you seek, please send an email to info@femalefluence.org. Remember, my friends, don't just exist, but live your life to the fullest. I'm your host, Pro Mashur, until we talk next time.